Hello everyone, this is for pre-calculus. That's on the sections called completing the square. The first thing that you guys have to do is recognize that what you're doing is you're taking something from standard form and rewriting it in what's going to be called vertex form, x minus h squared plus k. So you're taking it from this format and making it look like that. That's why it's called completing the square, because you're going to get a square inside the thing. So here goes. Y is equal to x squared plus 6x. First thing you do is you take half the middle, which is 3, square it, add it, subtract it, and then the minus 5 comes along for the ride. Now the reason I subtracted the 9 is because the net effect here is I haven't done anything to it. It's basically I've just added a 0. And if you've added 0, you haven't done anything to the problem, you haven't changed it. Now why did I take half the middle and square it? I'll show you that in 1 second. This much makes a perfect square. So that I'm going to compress back to x plus 3, and then minus 9 minus 5 is worth minus 14. So I'm going to show you, prove to you that this is actually this. Okay, so first thing, if I'm going to square this, it will be x plus 3 times x plus 3. Remember, you can't distribute over adding and subtracting. Now, if you FOIL it, you get x squared plus 3x plus 3x plus 9. Notice that in the square, there's 2 of the middle. They're identical. So I could really just write it plus 2 times 3x plus 9, or x squared plus 6x plus 9. Oops. Sorry, I was thinking about the 14 that's hanging out there and said one thing and wrote another, plus 9. Now, why did I take half the middle? Why did I take half of this to get it? Is because, notice, you've got 2 of them. So that's why I take half of it to get 1 of them. To get 1 of these, I have to take half of it. There are always going to be 2 of them. Now, this minus 14 is coming along for the ride. So you get x squared plus 6x minus 5. There it is. It's identical to what we started with. Okay? So the pattern, once again, is going to be take half the middle, square it, add it, subtract it, and the end number just goes along for the ride. The first 3 you're going to force a perfect square. And you get this number by taking half the middle. Minus 9 plus 4 is minus 5. You're done. Now, what happens when you can't readily take half the middle? Well, fine. In other words, it's not an even number. It's no big deal. You still go about it just like you did before. I'm going to take half the middle, so minus 5 halves, and square it. So that would be 25 fourths. So plus 25 fourths minus 25 fourths plus 2. That much is a perfect square. Y is equal to half the middle. And out here, to do this in my head so I don't need a calculator, that's minus 6 1/4 plus 2, so minus 4 1/4. So there's your answer. Same deal. Whoops. I was starting to take half of it right away, and that's not what I do. So, okay. 7x. Then you take half the middle. 7 halves. Square it is 49. Whoa. 49 fourths. So add 49 fourths. Subtract 49 fourths. Minus 5. The front 3 are a perfect square, so collapse it back by taking half the middle. And to do this in my head, so that would be what? Minus 12 1/4 minus 5 minus 17 1/4. Okay? Now, what's going to be different on the rest of these is the leading coefficient is 1. So in other words, the value of A. The value of A so far has been 1. Now the leading coefficient is not 1. So what you need to do is factor that out of the first 2 terms, just the first 2. Factor in pretending you're dividing. And the minus 1 is still out here. I just moved the minus 1 down. I factored the 2 out of just the first 2 and scooted this down. Now, there's two more additional steps. That's the first step. That's additional. Now, I take half the middle, 2, square it, add it, so plus 4, minus 4, just like I did before. But if you were to take these parentheses off, which you really don't want to, so that's that. Notice I've actually added an 8, so just subtracting 4 doesn't balance it out. Whatever you factor out here has to be multiplied to what you subtract. Now that balances out because I have a minus 8. Okay? Now you don't want to take the parens off. That's kind of the reverse direction of where we're going. Now you can compress this back into a perfect square. Now you take half the middle. Minus 8 minus 1 is minus 9. Factor the 3 out of the first 2 terms. Take half the middle, 2, square it, 4, subtract 4, times the leading coefficient you factored out, plus 7. So y is equal to 3. Collapse the middle back. Minus 12 plus 5, plus 5. Minus 12 plus 7 is minus 5. Oh, good lord. Okay, this is a negative 1 that's there, so I'm going to factor out the negative 1. Take half the middle, negative 3, square it, add it, subtract it, plus 2. Y is equal to negative. Take half the middle. So that's plus 10, sorry, plus 9, plus 2 is plus 11. Okay, when it's a fraction, it's no different. You just need to be a little bit careful when you're doing this. I'm going to factor out a half. Remember I said pretend that you're dividing out that number? And 5 divided by a half is not 5 halves. Some kids make this mistake. It's not. Dividing by a half is the same as multiplying by 2. 5 divided by a half is 10. When you divide by a fraction, the numbers get bigger. When you divide by a whole number, the numbers get smaller. You're pretending you're factoring, so you're pretending you're dividing by 3. When you divide by a whole number, the number gets smaller. When you divide by a fraction, the number gets bigger. The number less than 1 really is what I meant. I'll take half the middle, square it, add it, subtract it, times what you factored out. So it's really, the pattern is no different. Then it's half the middle. Minus 12 and a half, minus 3 is minus 15 and a half. There we go. The next page is what you guys have for homework. Thanks for your time.